everybody, I'm Sean Robinson,
I'm Carson Grubaugh. Welcome to Living the Line.
and today is another one-man review.
One man
Carson,
plus a shoulder hanger over.
yeah. So I, through general overworkedness and general laziness, have been unable to record some one-man review. So Carson has kindly decided to sit in with me, and I think since he hectored me in the last one about my lack of motivation, I think that means he'll probably not do it this time. But thank you for being witness to this momentous
Yes,
occasion, Carson.
yes. No, I'm always happy to follow along and lust after whatever you've got that I have not got.
Right. Well, this is a book that you're going to lust after, and I have to thank
Mm.
a subscriber of ours, Rabskins, for sending this to me almost a year ago. And I have neglected to bring this up because I tried very, very, very hard to license this book for English release.
Oh,
And I
yes.
have
I was so
I have
excited that it
failed.
seemed like that was going to happen and so disappointed that it just did not.
I failed in my attempt. I won't go into the gory details. I never got a response. I tried very hard. I thought this was going to, wanted this to happen, but I was holding off on, doing a flip through because obviously, like, I would like to bring this book to release, but it's not going to happen. So this is Abi-Sword, and this is by a Taiwanese cartoonist who is quite rightly regarded as one of the greats of his time, and he passed away very, comparatively young, but he made this book during the early 70s. Let's take a quick look.
Yes.
Abi-Sword, or Abi-Jian, is the art is by Chen Uen, and the writer is Mai Li, and this is a book that is like I was saying, I believe it was from the early 70s, and is just absolutely incredible visually. Absolutely incredible. And this is essentially a action comic that has very, very complicated very, very complicated spiritual components to it. In that he's essentially representing different religious viewpoints through the conflict, but not reading, any form of Chinese, including the form that was this being spoken in Taiwan. I don't have access to the plot at all.
Yeah. I was wondering if in the attempt to get the license, if you had seen a like rudimentary English translation, or if you just entirely just based on flipping through the book.
No, entirely based on flipping through the book and reading reviews by
go back one page.
Taiwanese readers.
What I okay, no, go back. I don't know. There was a bust of a guy. There was some really beautiful. There we go. That bottom right there.
Mm-hmm.
When you said Rabskins was the sub who told us about this, when Rabskins first turned us onto this about a year ago, I told us, hey, go look this up, and I looked it up online. That thing that's going on in that bottom right is what really struck me, with the super detailed, hyper realistic rendering of the face, and then the calligraphic slop. Yeah, and that combination and the way the artist will fluctuate between those two is really beautiful.
Yeah, and it's really a wild look, and you can see, he's fairly restrained in some of his stuff, and then he just goes to town with it. And because this is chronological here, you can see him evolving, and a lot of that evolution is just down to when to use one of these looks and when to use another one. And you can see when he's in this sort of mode right here, it's really reminiscent of Ryo Ikigami.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's like Ikigami, and then you get the dude that does Blade of the Immortal with those calligraphic things.
Right.
It's a crazy combo.
And it's worth noting that this is the early 70s. Ikegami's stuff. Ikegami was working in the early 70s, but his stuff did not look like this then. So I would not be surprised if this isn't a huge influence upon Ikegami. I mean,
And
this is.
also Fist of the North Star,
Mm-hmm.
that artist as well, Tetsuo Hara.
Mm-hmm. And so this has a reputation as being a seminal work that was really influential in both Taiwan and China.
Look at that
But
skull with the cross contour line weight chain.
Mhm.
That's what I can't tell from is that on someone's, like, their
Robe,
clothes is flaring out?
yeah, yep. And this is just like a flared attack. It's just quite amazing, like somebody
That is
spinning.
crazy looking.
It's funny that the skull jumps out, on screen.
Yeah.
Like that, you could see the vibration of the cross contour, and so clean when he wants to be. I mean, this is just like the height of cleanliness, and then you've just got, he just goes absolutely dirty. Yeah, like I said, I have almost no knowledge whatsoever what's happening in terms of the plot, except that it seems to follow some kind of familiar story contour with the larger and larger conflicts. And you can see that the chops that he has in terms of his cartooning as well. And you've got these figures that are just so expressive. I have a dry brush on the hair.
Yeah, it's the combo of like this big brushy dry brush stuff and then the super rendered stuff that really, like right there. Yeah, that's beautiful. And it gets more of that as he goes, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So the I'll kind of flip ahead a little bit here. You could see that
Look at that.
so this could be almost straight out of Chinese brush painting,
Yeah.
except for the realism of the horse, and then this right here, and then he's just got this head set in the middle of that.
There's a very few painters I've seen that can pull this off as well. There's a painter named Konstantin Makovsky, and I mean, he does these giant like history paintings and Russian history paintings, massive, and it'll be the same thing where the face is painted like as tight as a William Bouguereau, and then you get down into the clothes and he's painting like Van Gogh, and
Right.
he'll transition between the two. And I don't know if someone looked up Makovsky online, you wouldn't be able to see it because these paintings are, I mean, huge,
Right.
25 feet across or something. So those kind of things resolve small, but if you could ever see a Makovsky in person, it's like the painting version of this. Look at that blouse.
Isn't that wild?
That's just filthy. Like, you're not supposed to. This is like a kind of taupey level of scary, I think.
Oh yeah. No, it's definitely somebody who has total command of every single one of his skills and knows which ones to use at different times.
Yeah.
And you kind of like abstract this out and you think like this is like a photographic or something, but then you look at the actual mark making and it's like he's gone Bill Sienkiewicz on this dude.
And very kind of Monet, Renoir, like compositionally almost.
Mhm.
Like I'm thinking of the boat party.
Yeah, exactly. And then this look at these impossible angles right here where they're essentially being menaced by the top of the building behind them, and it's just like
Yeah.
the viewpoint is just totally ridiculous. And then the super cartoony like Sam Keith level rubbery figure.
Oh, I hadn't seen any of that in the stuff online. That's wild. How is this not already? Because they're being stupid with licensing it, basically.
It's something weird. I actually found an announcement that it was going to come out in English in 2010, but I have not found an actual copy of it.
Who was supposed to put it out in 2000?
They were supposed to put it out. So the company that owns the license in Taiwan, I don't see it right here in English, but was announced it as an imminent English release from an arm of their company that was going to be in uh, the North America.
So
So
they were basically trying to open a North American arm with this product and didn't.
that's right. Or
And
they
then
did.
they have it online on like this, hey, we're giving out grants
It's
to
yeah, it's
someone to do an English release translation of it, but then wouldn't get back to you.
yeah. But you know, it's possible that they just don't want to deal with a small publisher, and that's understandable. But you know, I just wish. I mean, look at this right here. I mean, it's just
Yeah, I mean it's absolutely masterful art. And then you've got like, he's coming from Taiwan, so he's not from the Japanese market, but historically important. That potentially opens up like the manhwa instead of the manga market. Like what, like it makes no sense to me that you wouldn't want to open that market up and start profiting off of it. Because yeah, Jesus, that's amazing.
yeah. And so it's worth noting. I mean, he was translated in Japanese, so he is definitely, you know, you can make a direct connection between him and, you know, the manga artists who were definitely influenced by him. You know, I mean, I'm not gonna say like 100% Riko Ikegami, you know, read this and was influenced by it, but like it's hard to understand that if it was available, that he wouldn't have been, you know, or even
Look
if he
at
just saw it
that.
in import. I mean,
Look at that left. Oh my God, that
mhm.
whole abstract composition there.
And then
Um, yeah, it's hard not to see the influence of this, especially hearing that it's from the 70s.
right,
Like even if they weren't directly influenced, this was filtering in somehow. Like look at that thing on the upper left there. Is that all stippling or splatter, or what is, I can't tell on screen, that texture of the big godhead.
I am sorry. I'm going to have to recount something real quick. Recant 89. This is
Oh,
89. So I take it back.
okay.
So this he had been, I believe he had been an artist in the 70s, but this particular story is from 89 and 90. So allow me to take back half of what I just said.
Okay. So we don't know then. The influence might have come the other way. But look at
Yes.
that. They got a photograph in there. Is that what that is? That butterfly?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to tell. And then we've got two, you know, intentional moire patterns uh, on top of it there.
Strange. It's hard to tell just through a screen. Look at that face too. Jesus. Yeah, I mean, either way, whichever way the influence goes, you're creating a direct link in the English audience, at least, to things that they know and like already. And
Right.
then that is opening up potentially a whole new market of Chinese comics, which I know there's a ton of. Like the word manga comes from the Chinese manhwa. So that, you know, like that's a market that's there to open up that we just don't really have
Yeah.
access to. And it's kind of crazy to me that they're not using this as like their introductory. Oh, look at that. That's 100% photo reference up top.
Yeah.
That's almost looks like they did a photocopy and then whited out and drew on top of it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Yeah. So his influential time, 80 or 91. So I am very sorry that I said that incorrectly earlier, and I'm gonna just walk it back and say that obviously there's some parallel influence at work
Yeah.
here.
And no matter which way the influence goes, it's amazing art. And dear Lord, I want a readable copy of this. And dear Lord, am I so sad that it wasn't coming from Living the Line, where I know it would be the absolute best quality. Like this is going to come out from IDW and we're both going to cry.
uh, um, look at this right here,
Uh,
and you got this super rubbery cartooning happening here.
yeah, that surprises me the most, because when I looked this up online, I saw the Ikegami combined with the brushwork, but I didn't look at that mask.
Mm-hmm.
Oh Lord, this is amazing.
And then the flexibility of being able to just jump from that to that, you
And
know.
that bird, the tail of that bird.
I find it really inspiring to see some of these techniques in service of an adventure story too. I have to say, I've been sort of looking at the stuff that has been pitched to me over the past couple months, and you know, things that I think about, and the stuff that we're kind of segmented in North America right now, with experimental comics being its own sort of room,
Mm-hmm.
and narrative comics being several other rooms, and they don't really intersect with each other. But like, you see this adventure comic that's drawn in such an experimental way. I think that has its own kind of power. You have the story as a
Yeah.
hook, and you have the narrative momentum, but then you have these moments that are just so expressive.
Well, and I think that's part of what I'm enjoying about a lot of the stuff that I'm seeing coming out of the UK, like Gareth Brooks,
Mm-hmm.
or people here in the States like Andrew White. Uh, well, Andrew White's more on the experimental story wise, but Gareth Brooks will tell a pretty strange story, but straightforward. But then he'll be doing it with like experimental art, or some of the more modern European stuff. I feel is more open to like these artistic dalliances with the visual aspect of it, but then they'll tell a pretty straightforward story.
Right.
Um, God, look at that bitter beer face.
But this
That yeah,
And this is what I mean by the extremity of it. He seems like the further he gets along in this is serialized over 2 years, by the way.
look at
Well, let me.
that. Oh, that is amazing. But then like right on the other side, you have, like, yeah, the most realistic Akagami face you could imagine. Next to that cartoony, what is that? Wait, no, that on the
This
far
here.
right. That is amazing. What
Yeah,
is
that.
this company? This company, get your act together. We need this over here so bad. And that cartoony character there with the big head all of a sudden on the middle bottom left of the right page.
Mhm. I feel like I need to. We need to put in a little subtitle where I start impugning Ikigami's honor here. Correct course.
Yeah.
uh, and point out how wrong I was before that becomes. Uh,
I'll have Tori edit in a
okay.
Sean,
He's
knock it
wrong.
off, like little caption or something.
Right. That would be fantastic. This right here.
Wow. This is I was already like so sad I couldn't get a copy of this book just from the stuff I saw online, and now that I'm seeing it's like twice more diverse than I thought it was. Oh, look at that. Wow. Look at that dragon gargoyle thing. That is crazy.
Hmm.
I wonder if like I would buy this almost not being able to read it. I'm
Yeah.
gonna go
Well.
run around online before this episode goes up.
This
This
is a.
looks like it's worth having untranslated.
No, I think so. And I just love every time that he needs like additional energy. These big slashing flat brush strokes. In this case, it gives it like an out of focus look to the
I
object that
noticed
the
that with
picture
that one
shows.
arm too, where there was like an arm up front that was really brushy and then
Hmm.
really detailed stuff in the background.
In this case, the horse's motion. I mean, that's just unbelievable. This rendering of this horse here, man, I would kill for some of that ability.
Yeah, like a third, a half, quarter.
Look at this. I mean, it's like the horse is a running glyph. You know.
Yeah. Wow. That's cool too to be able to see it like this is the book that it happens in.
Hmm. Yeah, like inside the book, from page to page. And yeah, so I said Chen Wen died in 2017, and he was only 57, 58.
Oh, And it has done some impressive color work too, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, well, he did like for instance, the painting on the cover.
Yeah, but has done some narrative, at least some
Yeah.
like the opening pages or whatever are in color,
Hmm.
and they're that good. Wow, look at that sword fight.
Yeah. So this is a he's an immensely influential artist. But as I said, I have overstated his time period, and apologies to Mr. Ikigami again.
Wow.
The
Well, I mean, took
wildness.
it to a whole nother level.
Mhm. I mean, this is one of the things that distinguishes it from a lot of the manhwa fighting comic stuff that has been available in English before, is the calligraphic aspect of it. Um, I think it's safe to say that each of these traditions is sort of speaking to each other. Here, you get this guy standing on the pillar, and it's just one stroke, and it looks like one continual stroke down from that, and then this huge mess.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like they did the like dab, stroke, and then it could be a second stroke, but it almost looks like they just went straight down into the post from there all at once.
Mm-hmm.
But then all of that like super tight, like you'd get it out of a Mizuki book type of background photo reference background rendering.
Yep.
Well, this is even flipping through and seeing this like poor quality Zoom has downgraded the video. I'm already like, and there's like a ink wash. Is that what that is, or is that all just cross hatching?
Now, this right here,
The
it's
other
green tone.
page, that face at the bottom
This is
left.
this is all cross hatching. Yeah.
Jesus, it looks like ink wash through the
Yeah.
camera.
No, it's nutty. He's got form totally down, and he knows where to leave the spot. So even though the reproduction is not the greatest, you always get a sense of form in it. Like this little like highlight peeking out here.
Yeah, like a reflected light. Or that's why it looked
Mhm.
like ink wash to me. It's so the range of values there is
Right.
so naturalistic looking to me.
Yep.
That's nuts.
So, Abi-Sword, well worth picking up a copy of and keeping it by your drawing table and using it as a cheat sheet.
Yeah.
As you try to decide, can I go this far? You can go that far.
Yeah, like between flipping through that and dealing with the AI, like seeing the stuff from especially issues 2 and 3 of Abolition of Man, like those are just changing how I draw.
Yeah.
For the better, I think, like
Well, I
loosening
mean,
up.
you realize like that you can connect a story with different things. The story, the words themselves, the face, the hair shape of the character. I think in my younger years, I was kind of obsessed with, the sort of ideal that's set out in a lot of the Scott McCloud books, that the stylistic consistency is one of the most important things in terms of not wrenching somebody out of a story. Uh, but I think I'm more persuaded now that you can just substitute some other kind of continuity for the
Yeah,
stuff.
actually, I know we haven't put the video. I'm sure it'll come out before this comes out, but B, we've also talked about I didn't realize you were also reading Lore Olympus.
Right.
And Tori and I had already recorded a pretty lengthy discussion about it because she saw it and was like, "Oh, I like this. Like, well, I'll do a video with you." So okay, and that was actually one of the main things we talked about, and that I'm looking forward to talking to you about because I think we're going to do a volume 2, all three of us together. Um, one of my responses to reading Lore Olympus is she is not doing anything that she should be doing in terms of storytelling from that standard like Wizard magazine training that we were talking about and Scott McCloud, and making those connections, doing establishing shots, making sure that the characters are seen in panels together, all of these things. And so I spent a lot of time like explaining to Tori why I think this book had such terrible storytelling in it. And surprised that it's so popular because I found it hard to follow. Like like storytelling was always about like make sure that the dumbest person in the room can follow it. Here I am as like a supposedly sophisticated comics reader having a hard time following this book, and it's super popular. So it was like, well, what am I missing in this that's making the story work for people? And what we came on is she uses color
Right.
as that threading element, and because I'm
Mhm.
partially colorblind, it just didn't work for me in the same way.
Interesting.
And that, like about a week ago, was the thing that slapped me across the face and was like, there are all these other devices outside of kind of the standard tricks that I got trained on about how
Right.
to thread a story together. So it's interesting that you kind of came to that
Yeah.
kind of at the same time, but through a
No.
totally different piece. And I'm curious to see when we talk about Lore Olympus Volume 2, you know, uh,
Oh yeah.
what
Well,
your response to all that is.
yeah. So not to be too far off field, I'll just take a second here. But Lore Olympus, I think definitely has inherited a lot of the shoujo manga um, tendencies towards visual storytelling, where the emotional impact or relationship of the characters is the more important thing than the spatial aspects. And the
Yeah.
first time I read like a shoujo book, you definitely feel unmoored. You're like, oh, where are they? And it's like what it boils down to is, well, the author doesn't give a shit. The author is telling you that they are communicating with each other through their hearts, and so you can see them floating in negative space with stars behind them,
Yeah.
and you get that they're relating to each other on some other kind of level. Um, but yeah, I think you're right that in Lore Olympus, she's using color as a means of the similar kind of threading. It's just a different technique for doing so. But yeah,
Well,
so
and this guy's able to use like stylistic
right,
variation, but still such a powerful artist that he can stray, but still keep it all obvious who's what. And it's
right.
impressive.
And so my estimation, Chen Uen, truly a master, very interesting, and this is wildly different than his color work, as you're saying. Definitely worth picking up more of his stuff, and I'm hoping that one day somebody will be lucky enough to get his stuff in English. I apologize again to Mr. Ikigami. Please, Tori, put in that subtitle that says "What an idiot I am." The first time I mention it, maybe we can
Yeah.
just underline it a couple times. Sean is wrong. 1989.
Sean is
1989.
about to apologize 10 times for this statement. It's
Better
okay.
than.
We'll get it rectified.
All right.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
sharing that, because I've been eagerly awaiting hearing whatever happened to that, because that was one of the earliest things that I was aware you were going after, and I was just sitting there hoping so bad. So I'm glad I got to at least look at it, and I'm
Yeah.
gonna go beat you all and try and order a copy right now.
All right. Thanks for watching, guys.